Welcome to Spooky Bear, where darkness whispers your name. And today, please enjoy
City Beneath the City. I should have known better than to answer the email from the anonymous archaeologist. Descend beneath the Zocalo. Discover the impossible, but curiosity, that old curse, drove me onto the rattling subway train, through tunnels draped in damp tiles and stale air. Mexico City's pulsing heart throbbed above, unknowing. Below, endless corridors snaked like the roots of some colossal buried tree. My name is Diego Navarro, urban explorer and chronicler of the city's underbelly. I'd mapped 100-year-old drainage tunnels, colonial cisterns, Aztec aqueducts, anything more than a century old. But that email promised older, so old it predates memory. At 2 a.m., I picked the lock of a disused ventilation shaft in a crumbling plaza. The ladder descended into ink. My headlamp flickered over rusted grates, carved crosses, colonial graffiti, paz, muerte, olvido. I followed the shaft until it opened onto a wide gallery lined with bricks centuries damp. Then, something changed. The air grew colder, denser. The walls shifted from brick to something like stone, but not any stone I knew. These blocks were vast, unbroken monoliths, joining at impossible angles. Glints of metallic sheen sparkled under my light. Streaks of copper, blue, and a green hue I'd never seen outside deep-sea creatures. I traced a finger over the surface. The stone felt alive, slight vibrations, as though distant footfalls echoed somewhere beyond comprehension. Against my will, I pressed deeper into the corridor. The corridor opened into a vast hall, its ceiling vanishing into unlit heights. I swept my light across its walls, geometric patterns carved in relief, nested polygons twisting into fractal loops, shapes that shouldn't exist in 3 dimensions. My eyes stung from staring. The lines clashed against my brain's architecture of understanding. At the center stood a pedestal. On it, a block of the same strange material. I knelt, heart pounding, and saw inscriptions. No letters, but living runes. They shimmered, shifting shape whenever I blinked. I raised my camera and took a photo. The flash ripped through the darkness. The runes froze for a heartbeat, then rearranged themselves, forming a single symbol, a circle within a circle, segmented into 12 fractal arms. Something deep in my mind flared. I pressed my ear to the pedestal. At first, silence. Then, almost imperceptibly, a low hum, like a chorus of distant voices, or perhaps the earth itself speaking. The hum grew into a susurrus of whispers, threads of language I could not parse. Yet each syllable carried agony and ambition, as though the stones confessed a memory older than humanity. I staggered back, pressing both palms to my skull. Shadows shifted at the periphery. Was I imagining them? Flickers of movement against the stone. I pointed my light. Nothing. Abandoning caution, I reached out and touched the pedestal. The runes gleamed, hot as embers. A pulse, like a heartbeat, shook the hall. The geometric walls seemed to breathe, contracting inward as though testing their captive. Behind the pedestal, a narrow passage yawned. Its archway bore the same fractal carvings. I stepped through into an endless stair, granite steps worn smooth by unknown feet spiraling downward. A sickening draft sucked at my lungs. Each footstep echoed 1,000 times, fracturing into delirium. At the bottom lay a plaza crowned by stone spires that bent at angles no mortal mason could achieve. The ground was tiled in a tessellation of star shapes, radiating inward to a pit of black tile that absorbed light as if it were a void. I realized with horror, the platform was designed for something to emerge. I swallowed. High above me, the opening to the world I knew was lost in shadow. I had entered a city beneath the city, an unmaking of sanity. I wandered through tunnels leading from the plaza. Each corridor revealed wonders and horrors, columns carved like coiling tentacles, walls thin as paper, inscribed with diagrams of stars I'd never seen, chambers filled with crystalline formations that hummed with otherworldly resonance. The deeper I went, the more I felt the weight of countless eyes upon me. In one hall, I found a chamber of statues, 6-foot figures cloaked in robes of stone. Their faces were blank, featureless, as if they had no need for eyes. One statue held a tablet inscribed with a relief map of the surface world, but the continents lay in shapes unrecognizable, as if Earth itself had been redrawn. A whisper curled in my ear. We built it before we were born. The voice was not human. It resonated through my bones. I ran, heedless of direction, racing away from those empty watchers. At last, I stumbled into a cavern so vast it defied description. A cathedral sunk beneath cathedrals. The ceiling arched beyond sight. Pillars of black quartz dripped with liquid light, pooling in veins that traced the floor like rivers of memory. At the center floated a sphere of void, a globe of pure absence, contained in a lattice of fractal metal. I knew this was the heart of the alien city. This sphere was their god or machine, or perhaps the boundary between dimensions. A wave of vertigo seized me. I felt the city pulse, a breath of timelessness. "You are not the first," a voice sighed. "We remember." The sphere resonated, low and terrible. I fell to my knees, mind unraveling. A tremor coursed through the cavern, and the sphere's lattice cracked. Light bled into nothingness. The walls groaned. The spirit of the city wept in electric agony. 1,000 voices cried out, each voice an echo of steel and sorrow. I turned to flee, but paths shifted behind me, corridors reconfiguring. The exit I'd taken was gone, replaced by unending stone. Panic rose in my throat. I pounded my fists on the quartz walls. They rang like bells. A whisper at my shoulder. "You stay because you must." I spun. The sphere's void glimmered with a shape, the silhouette of a figure, tall and slender, rising from the crack. It stretched its arms in welcome or command. I fled through shifting halls, twisting in a labyrinth with no center, no exit, my footsteps a single heartbeat against eternity. I realized then the city beneath the city was alive and more than stone. It was a living dream of geometry and hunger. I do not know how long I wandered. Hours? Days? The corridors blurred until each step was a mirror of the last. Exhausted, I collapsed on a flagstone covered in luminescent runes. When I awoke, I was back in the ventilation shaft where I began. Dust motes floated in the corridor's stale air. Above me, street sounds drifted faintly. I climbed, unsteady, like a sleepwalker. Emerging onto the plaza, I blinked in the cold dawn light. The city's heart beat above me. Traffic droned, vendors shouted, the purple haze of sunrise painted the towers. No trace of the undercity remained. The ventilation grate was locked again, as if it had never been moved. Since that night, I see the patterns everywhere. The cracks in sidewalks trace uncanny geometries. The skyscraper's windows reflect my own distorted face, a cage of glass fractals. In my dreams, I wander that cathedral cavern, searching for a path out, the sphere gleaming in the darkness. I tried to speak of it. Friends laughed. Historians called me delirious. The security cameras on the plaza show only mossy stone beneath the grate. Yet I remember. A cold voice hums behind my thoughts. We remain. I know it is true. Our city stands on the bones of something older. Architecture too vast, too alien to be of human hands. And beneath every street, every foundation, that hidden city waits, its corridors shifting, its god void pulsing, hungry for the day it can reclaim the surface. I walk the streets, haunted by geometry that doesn't belong, wondering when the gates will open for the world above, to learn the lesson already learned beneath. We are not the first builders. We are not the masters of this land. And I tremble, knowing well the silent star that burns beneath our feet, ancient, alien, eternal.
Sleep is a luxury, and you've just run out. Please like, share, and subscribe. We'll be waiting for you if you dare.